Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. Thank you for joining me today. I hope that today's video will inspire you and challenge you to think creatively and courageously about making Africa better. After watching this video, please subscribe to my channel, like the video, or leave comments and or questions in the comment section here below. Today, I would like to discuss corruption in Africa, but mainly I'll be focusing on Kenya, so corruption in Kenya, but I know that this can be generalized to other parts of Africa or to other countries of Africa, because many problems or many issues in Africa tend to be similar. Not to say that every country in Africa is similar, but the countries share lots of similarities. So I'll be talking mainly about Kenya, corruption in Kenya, but as I say, this can be generalized to other African countries. So corruption is a problem. It's a big problem, and it's been around for quite a while. Ever since I started becoming aware of my environment, when I was a kid growing up, yeah, and started becoming aware of issues. Yeah, that corruption was a problem then. And I also remember some of the books, some of the literature set books we had at school had corruption as a theme. I remember Chinua Achebe's No Longer It Is. Yeah, corruption was one of the main issues in that book. And every time I think about corruption and about cases of corruption in Kenya and other parts of Africa, I always remember Chinua Achebe's Mr. Green in No Longer It Is. So Mr. Green, I remember him saying, the African is corrupt through and through. Sometimes I wonder if that's true. Yeah, but I know there are many exceptions to that. So it's probably generalist. It's overgeneralizing to say like the African is corrupt through and through. But there are many cases or many examples that would support that. So the problem of corruption has been around for quite a while, and it's still around, and it's going to be around for quite a while, based on what I see happening, and especially if things do not change. So a question that we need to ask ourselves is, why has corruption persisted? Why is it still persisting? There have been efforts done by governments in different parts of Africa or in different countries of Africa to address this issue. Yeah, so in Kenya, there have been such efforts, but not much progress has been made. So corruption is still, as I said, it's still a big problem. So why is corruption still a problem if leaders in Africa, leaders in some African countries have been trying to address, have been trying to find solutions to it? So people, I think, will answer this question differently. But for me, I think the problem that there are several problems, or that can explain persistence of corruption in Africa. So one, I think, has to do with the fact that many Africans, many Kenyans, I'm going to address, as I said, I'm going to focus on Kenya. Many Kenyans, I think, want to become rich as quickly as possible. And I think this is something that I could be wrong, but this is something that I see in talking to people or in seeing what people are doing, people want to get as rich as quick. They want to get rich as quickly as possible, and that drives people, forces people into corruption. So corruption is the fastest way or the fastest means of becoming rich. Yeah, and I also tend to think that many Kenyans and many Africans, they don't see corruption as a big problem or as a serious problem. And it's the reason why people do not refer to, or they don't use very they don't use strong terms to refer to corrupt people. Yeah, they tend to use just continue using maybe the titles of these people. If the corrupt person is maybe a minister or if he's a politician, they're not going to refer to them using a very or an appropriate term. And I'm going to talk about this later. They tend to refer to them just using their regular titles. So it does seem that people do not think about corruption as very serious. So it's not a serious problem and it's not an urgent problem. And therefore they don't see it as something that is wrong. So people can take part in corruption. They can do corrupt deals, and still they won't feel that it's wrong. Yeah, so I think that's a big problem. And general people do not appreciate how serious corruption is. And I can talk about this later. Another problem has to do with the fact that people don't see themselves as corrupt. They think this is a problem that they tend to look at other people as being corrupt. They don't see them as maybe being capable of being corrupt. And I think this is a problem. It's a big problem that I think Kenyans need to address. The way I think about this, people have grown up. I grew up in a similar environment. So people have grown up in a situation where corruption is the order of the day. They've grown up seeing corrupt people. People do corrupt deals or take money and just get away without punishment. So it's just become part of life of these people. So to assume that you can live in this or you can grow up in this environment and not be potentially corrupt is probably not realistic. So we have to assume, or we have to accept the fact that most Kenyans are corrupt or can be corrupt if they get a chance. People thought, for example, that when the second president left power, when he gave up power or lost power in 2002, people thought that corruption was going to end. But they were wrong. In thinking that corruption was only associated with Moi and his people, or people in power, or people who are ruling with him, people in his government. People were wrong in thinking that way. They were wrong because people, or everyone in Kenya, had grown up and had grown up in an environment where corruption was part of life. So this, I think, means that people, all Kenyans, are corrupt. If given a chance, or if they got to, if they got a position, or if they got a chance to steal or to take money in a corrupt manner, they will do it. Just because of how they have lived or how they've been raised and the kind of things they've been exposed to. So to assume that corruption was to go away with the end of Moi's regime, yeah, was, I think, very unrealistic. So we have to accept, or we have to realize, or to come to the realization that Kenyans are corrupt. If they get a chance, if they get a chance to be corrupt, they are going to be corrupt. So we need to work on that. And maybe one last reason that I think corruption persists, and I think there are many others, but for me, I'm just going to stop here. So I'm going to give the last reason that I think corruption exists and persists. Leaders are not serious. Leaders are not serious about fighting corruption. So they're not serious, and we see this in what they've been doing. They say, or they tell Kenyans that they are going to fight corruption, that they're serious about fighting corruption. But how do they do that? No, they just give it lip service. They give fighting corruption lip service. So leaders are not serious. So what can we do? So on this channel, I've been trying to promote the idea that Africans, in this case Kenyans, shouldn't leave finding solutions to their problems to leaders. They shouldn't leave finding solutions or acting upon those upon problems and finding solutions. They shouldn't leave that to politicians. Everyone has, or should take whatever problem it is up. Take it up. Yeah. So what should be done in this? So I'm going to talk about maybe some solutions or approaches to this problem that can be taken up by anyone. It can be politicians, can be the general public, or or people who are enlightened. Yeah, they can do that. So we first, I think, have to start with finding ways of making people realize the seriousness of corruption. I think that's something that we rarely talk about. We talk about corruption in a very light way, and as I said earlier on, we refer to people who are corrupt using very not using very serious terms. We just use we use terms that are not really that terms that do not paint these people as serious criminals. We don't use those. So, but think about it. If we think about the effects of corruption, yeah, there are lots of bad things that have happened because of corruption. Think about someone who steals money that is supposed, or that is intended for hospitals, buying medicines for hospitals, for example. This has happened many times. People would steal money that is intended for that. So if you do that, you are killing people. People are not going to have the medication they need. They go to hospitals, there's no medicines. You are killing people indirectly. You're not doing it directly, but it's indirect. You steal money and lots of people die. Or think about road construction. Our people take money, they do a shoddy job on construction, and you have bad roads, terrible roads, and you end up with lots of accidents where people lose their lives. or policemen who take bribes. They take bribes, and they leave. They turn a blind eye to crime. So there's overloading on public transportation vehicles, and yeah, accidents happen too. So a lot of things happen that are not that people don't associate with corruption, but corruption is at the very root, or at the root of those problems. At the root of many deaths. And I think I agree with PL Lumumba when he says that corruption has killed more people in Africa than conflict has. All conflicts put together, the number of people that have been killed in those conflicts is less than the number of people who have died because of corruption. So we need to find ways of making this clear to people. Let people know that corruption does kill, and let us use tough terms, not friendly terms, or yeah, let's use like terms that is the people who steal, say, from the government deserve. So these are, we just need to call them thieves. Probably even thieves is not strong enough. We need to call them murderers or killers, because this is what they're doing. They steal money, they take money, and people die. People suffer. They look at what they do. Like, you steal money, people lack social services. They lack service that the government should be giving them, and people live terrible lives. Look at the way people live. Yeah. So let us be, or we need to be tough with people and refer to these people, to corrupt people, with the terms that they deserve. They are thieves, they are robbers, they are killers, they are murderers. Yeah, so let us use those terms. And we can do this by making people aware of the effects and consequences of corruption. And we also need to make people, I think, become conscious of what they're doing. Somehow people have lost their guilt conscience. So if someone steals and he feels it's okay. And I think that's related to the point that I just made earlier, a few minutes ago. If you steal and you don't associate your theft with death, or with murder, or with loss of life, then yeah, you don't have that. You are likely not to have that guilt conscience. You just steal and you feel it's okay. But we need to make that connection, and that the connection between corruption and death, corruption and loss of life. We need to make that connection strong, so that everyone is aware of that. So if we do that, I think more people are going to become conscious. They're going to have that guilt conscious. Like, if I steal, if I take this money, someone is going to die as a result of that, and that can make people be at least guilty, like when they do things like that. And yeah, since we are very, very, very far from making people realize that, I think we need to use all channels, all avenues available to us. Let us use schools. I think school is a good place to start. School is a good place to start. And in teaching, I think now corruption is taught in one of the subjects. So let it be presented in a way, or let corruption be presented in a way that strongly brings out strongly the effects of corruption, and let students learn about that, learn that connection between corruption and loss of life. Let people or let students learn about that in a serious way, and let students also learn about the environment in which they're growing up. They're growing up in an environment where corruption is kind of normalized, so they should be taught that that's not the correct way. That's not how it should be. Corruption is wrong. You're growing up in this toxic environment, but it's not right. And I think if the consequences, if the effects of corruption are made clear to these students, I think they will learn that. They will learn that it's wrong to do that. Yeah, and so that's at the school level. But for the general population, we should also just try to do that. We should also try maybe to use civic education. Maybe require people, maybe not require, but use every chance that we get to talk about this issue, to talk about the serious effects or the serious consequences of corruption. So we need to do this if we are to save Kenya, if we are to kick corruption out of Kenya. If we don't do that, then I'm afraid corruption is going to be around for a long time. If we wait for leaders to do it, yeah, it's going to take a long time, because the leaders that we have are from amongst ourselves. They've grown up also in a corrupt system, in a corrupt society. So for them, corruption is not it's not a serious problem. Corruption is just one of the things that people do. So they're unlikely to do that. So we need to find ways of sensitizing people, of teaching people about the effects of corruption. So leaders, if we do it right, and if we raise, if we use education correctly, the chances of getting a leader who is serious with fighting corruption become greater. Like when these young people, or people who go through the system that teaches corruption in a better way, in a more complete way, in a way that paints corruption for what it is, in a way, in an education that attaches or that links corruption to death, corruption to loss of life. If we have students go through this system and get this education, and these kind of students maybe become leaders eventually, then they are likely to fight corruption in a more effective way. They're likely to take corruption seriously. They're likely to take the fight against corruption seriously. But as things are now, it's unlikely that we'll have maybe a leader who does that. Some African countries have been lucky to have found to have leaders who are enlightened and who fight, or who are serious about fighting corruption. So countries like Rwanda, Botswana, and I think Mauritius. Yeah, so those countries are doing well, and I hope that when those leaders, when the current leaders leave office, I hope this is a practice, or this is a culture that is going to continue. It will be sad for maybe Rwanda to go back to its corrupt ways when Kagame leaves office. It would be so sad for that to happen. So I hope in those countries that culture of fighting corruption and of avoiding corruption is entrenched. I hope that happens. But in Kenya, yeah, we need to do more. I think we need to use education. And for those who are enlightened, I think it's good to show by example. So don't do corrupt deals if you know what corruption can do. And so this is where the individual effort, like that I've been talking about, comes in. So if for example, you and me, we know that corruption potentially leads to death, yeah, we shouldn't do that. We shouldn't involve ourselves in corrupt deals. And we can tell people that we talk to, we can tell people in our social circles, we can tell people, we can tell our acquaintances, we can tell our friends about this, about what is wrong with corruption, about how corruption is a serious disease, a serious problem that leads to or that is responsible for lots of death. So please, I'll stop here. Please, if you have any questions, if you have any comments, please leave them in the comment section here below. Yeah, this is a big topic that I'll probably come back to. Yeah, I'll probably talk about this again, maybe give specific examples of corruption, and maybe try to explain maybe the consequences of those corrupt deals, how those things have affected other people. And if you ever talk about, if you ever talk to the regular Kenyans if you talk to regular Kenyans or regular Africans in other countries, please make the case to them that corruption is really, really bad. Corruption is responsible for lots of deaths. And people should try to move away from this practice of receiving money from politicians. Chances are that money has been gotten through corrupt deals. Who in this world can give money from Monday to Friday all year round? They give money every day. They give millions every day. Where does that money come from? We should be able to ask that. And instead of choosing leaders based on what they give you, what they can give you, choose leaders based on the integrity, based on their track record. What have they done for you, or what are they able to do for you? And fighting corruption should be one of the things. If you know someone is corrupt, try not to vote for them just because they've given you few shillings, few dollars. Don't do that. Doing that is just giving these people a chance to steal more, a chance to kill more people indirectly. So don't do that. So I'll stop here. Please leave comments or questions, and please subscribe. Subscribing is the most direct way of supporting our channel. So we like our channel to grow, and it will only grow if you support us by subscribing or making comments in the comment section below or liking the video. Thank you.